So when you talked with Farm Bureau members earlier today, you talked about the proposed border tax in trade and how it will affect that. How could that possibly impact farmers and ranchers?
Well, it's a huge impact on farmers and ranchers. If you have a border adjustment tax, it can incentivize people not to do trade with us. So it's extremely important that we actually have a setup where we're encouraging trade rather than discouraging trade. It's the same thing with our trade agreements. Once the president walked away from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, his next statement was, let's do all 12 nations one at a time that we'll do negotiations with. That's a great idea, but we don't have a trade representative on board yet. We got to get him on board and get it going, because right now we're in a race with every other country. New Zealand, everybody else is trying to fill the gap and to say if America's pulled out, we'll go take that spot and try to negotiate it. So we need to get busy. And if we're doing one-on-one trade agreements, that's fine, but they got to get started.
So farmers and ranchers for years have struggled with the Endangered Species Act, and you mentioned that as well today. Can you talk about the status of that?
Yeah, the Endangered Species Act is one of those things that really sounds good. No one wants to have species go extinct, but they've got two criteria on it. One is population, and the other one is on habitat. And for a long time, the focus of Fish and Wildlife Service was on population. Is the count good? Now they're shifting more and more to habitat. And when they say habitat is this pristine like it was 200 years ago to allow this species to thrive? If you're developing it, you got to check in with us. That was never the intent of the Endangered Species Act. So now we got to go through the legislative fight and the regulatory fight to say we still need to allow farming and ranching. We still can guard the land and not limit people from doing that. We still need to allow development where people want to build a house or build a barn. They still need to be allowed to do that. But this is going to be the ongoing fight for a while with Fish and Wildlife Service. Again, everybody wants to see the species thrive, but we can't do it to the detriment of people.
So Senator Lankford, you were one of the first elected officials to visit Northwest Oklahoma in the victims of wildfire relief. How do you plan on making sure those victims receive the relief that they need?
Yeah, incredibly painful to both fly over and then to be able to walk around and talk to producers all over Northwest Oklahoma and to be able to see folks in all three counties and what they're experiencing and the long-term effect of this fire. So a couple things we're trying to track through. We're actually trying to work through the system for the LIP program and the other subsidy programs that are out there that are safety net programs that come help to make sure they can get all those payments done at a faster rate. We still have folks from a previous fire from a year ago that still haven't been paid from that fire a year ago, that safety net. That's not a safety net if it's a year or two later. So we're trying to help them get on board and to be able to get that done earlier. The other thing we're trying to be able to do is be able to get good response time for people that they can get their questions answered. Most of the folks in Oklahoma will say, I'll take care of myself. They may have a question, but they're not going to call anybody and be able to ask. Well, quite frankly, we need to make sure people do get their questions answered, do know where to call, and do know how to help do that. The other thing is we deal with ag and to be able to make sure we're doing inspections. If hay is coming in, which we're thrilled at the number of people all over the country that are donating hay, that are engaging with so many places to be able to help. But if it's coming in from a quarantined area, it's bringing in fire ants, it's bringing in other pests and such, we've got to be able to monitor that. And we've got to be able to know what to be able to do to be able to protect us. We don't want donations coming in that are long-term going to hurt us more than help us. So all those things matter to us long-term. So trying to be able to get the safety nets out there faster, trying to be able to help with the monitoring for pests coming in from the outside, trying to be able to help coordinate what's happening is all important.